All right, hey everybody. So I've been working on, well, I started porting a library to Node, and I ended up just trying to expose the Go implementation over FFI. And it kind of works, but it's got some weird behaviors, and I think it's just because I don't quite have a handle on doing certain types, because we're going through CGO, so you write Go and then you expose CGO types, and then those types are exposed over FFI to Node, and there's a lot of conversions in there, and so I was getting some weird behavior that I need to test in isolation. So I was going to do some basic experiments with the types that I'm using. So that's what we're doing today for the next hour or so. I don't know, we'll see. Hopefully this goes better. Also trying these RF headphones. Hopefully they don't... I think I know what happened last time when I tried them was it was too quiet, and so the transmitter turned off. Anyway. And this is... I'm making a little bit of progress trying to model all the things that we're building, but we can mostly ignore that. I'm going to be creating a new directory. I don't want to move anything. And start with a make file that is based on the project that I was working on. So actually, we won't bother with TypeScript just yet. One of the things that we have to do here is, well, I simplified the API by mostly working with ints that represent objects that are managed in the Go side. So, but I think because I'm not using explicit C types, we're getting some interesting misalignment of types. So we'll do something like this. We'll just do one function, not a read function, but take an int, we'll return an int. Well, we'll figure that out in a second. I also want to experiment with strings because we have a couple of strings that we pass in. So let's see, how was I doing that? Apparently I was just passing in a string. Which would be a copy, and here we'll try this. This is a string version of what I was doing to work with byte buffers. We'll do this in another function though. So this one is, we're gonna try doing a Go string. It should copy it in, so we should actually get access to it. We had a problem where I was not getting that value, so we'll see. And then this one is one where we actually write back to it so that we can access that string in the node program. Let's do our node part. Basically this simplified, not TypeScript. Oops. These are some libraries that are helpful in describing C types, basically, in Node. And then we're not doing a byte array, but we are going to try and do a Go string. Try to make this helper to make doing Go strings easier. All right, so we have two functions that we're exposing. One was test call and test string. Test call int and string. Okay, this is a little different. We could do it as a byte array and see if that works better. We're gonna have to install some stuff. Specifically, we need to pull this from the latest FFI repository because the release version was not working. It's not compiling. So ref, what else? Okay, and then I need to compile our shared library, and then we should be able to run this. We actually, let's do something. Here we go. All right. So it definitely called it. Now let's show us what we got. Actually, let's do shows. ID string. We'll return what we passed in. Well, we got hello. This seems to work pretty okay. Just having trouble with negative values. Doesn't seem to like doing native values. I mean, obviously, an int is not an unsigned int. So I'm not quite sure what side it is, but let's try node ref. Let's see. Go is what by default a 32. Oh, it depends. I guess I'll just say int32 then. I suppose we could do this. Okay. So on the go side, I need to explicitly say. It's strange though that it was able to pass through. Alright, so what if I just make this int32? Does that do the right thing? Okay. Okay. Let's see, to make a byte array. So I want the return value, which test string. It's not new, it's a shit. To string ASCII. All right, this guy. So just see what it is. So this one is supposed to write to that buffer, but let's just see that we get it. Right, so now we want to try and change it, and changing it requires us to, if we want to change it through like as a ghost slice or something. We do something like this. This was just on a wiki somewhere. So then we'd have like a bytes array that we could change. What if we were to do like is it reverse? Can we do a reverse? But that's going to expect a string, but we can treat it like a string. Do we not have reverse? Yeah. But we can, we have a reverse for bytes though, right? Don't we? Thought we did. Jesus. Is there anything built in that's nicer than this? Oh. Let's just fucking capitalize. Okay, that didn't quite work. Let's just try changing the first bit to hello, Tello. So that works. Okay, I don't want to assign it. I want to. That's the problem. So something like what did I end up doing here? Copying the bytes from. Okay, let's try and do something like this. Okay. No. So we have to give it a buffer that's big enough, and then here we will get the length. And then I think we have to slice. Damn it. Okay, so that worked. Well, most of this is working like I would have expected it to, except for the N32 stuff. And I kind of figured that was the problem. But let's do something interesting where this generates an error and this returns the error. For now, we'll just put it in like global. Base it on the string. So here we'll just create a... I'll do what I did over here. Which was... I think that's 256. Uh-huh. Yeah. So this should return an error that's like, let's do a pretend error. All right. Okay. Well, let's go back to libmux. So this is something that I've been working on. I haven't been streaming it because it was been like really painful to work on, but maybe I will do like a test error. Okay, I'm gonna store this error. Store error. Actually, I'm gonna return that. Okay. Let's just change everything in here to int32. Oh God. Really? I thought you were smarter than that, VS Code. I also need to change this because I was reusing IDs, and that is not good. Alright, what do we have here? Oh my god. What else did you fuck up, VS Code? Alright. Print. What's the problem here? Because you're comparing that. Come on. Come on. What are we doing here? What? What do you mean? Oh God. Mm-hmm. I regret that search and replace. Okay. Test error. So here's the idea. Take a string. We don't return anything, or we can... Let's make sure it works synchronously first. So we're gonna do libmux test error. Just takes a string, so we do new go string, and we get back an ID, and then we're gonna look up the ID. And then we're gonna throw and see if that works. All this stuff we will This is actually a good. Let's create a debug. In which we basically just call libmux test error. We should get an exception. It's fine. Okay. Ooh. Oh. Symbol not found. Test error. You don't like test error? Oh, did I not export? I think I just didn't export it. Okay, that's interesting. Bad error ID. libmux 55. So that's JavaScript though. So what is this? Okay, so it is test error that is throwing, but can we do that? Is that gonna make it better? Isn't there an exception? New error? All right. Oops. Okay, but there should have been a message, so we're not getting a message, I guess is the thing. Console log error. There's no... Okay, so I was messing with some stuff before. I might need to change. We want to make sure that you store an error, it's going to return a negative value. I don't know why it would ever do that, but so it's now we want a negative number here if ID is less than let's convert it to an index, which would be ID -1 times -1. What? What? Okay. Okay, now it's complaining that it's positive. So, store error. Let me make sure that we're doing what? Wait, what happened? I feel like it reset somehow. I don't know why. Oh, I'm changing to JS. That's pretty stupid. Okay, so we get a -1, that's good. So then it's looking it up, it's wrong. Our index here, index is -1 greater than -1? No. Is index greater than or equal to the size of errors? Okay, wait. This is saying that what's passed in is 1. What did we fuck up? Something wrong up here? In 32s? Oh, when we were translating it, we don't want to translate it here anymore. Okay, apparently -1 is still bad. 0. 0 greater than or equal to the size of errors. I mean, fuck, let's just look at everything in here. that makes a lot of sense. We want to do that afterwards. Yeah. Okay, still a bad error ID. 81, that makes sense. Index, errors should not be empty. That's the thing. Let's go back to a I wanted to do this anyway. So when we store an error, we're going to I guess I could increment it. Yeah, why not make them align more? So it's a positive, though. I guess the cool thing is I could use a negative, just so we're not confused all the time. We don't have to do any conversion. Okay, this should work, and then this should work, I think. There's no return 0. Do I want to return 0? Okay, this should work, and then this should be good. Should be good. Okay, so we got an error of hello world. That's great. That's fantastic. Let's try and do this asynchronously now. Great. There's probably no error. Get the return value, which would be an ID. Otherwise, we reject it. And we're going to look up error, whatever the return code was. Get rid of all this. Let's see, our demo could then be like this, maybe. The fuck is this? And why isn't it saying hello world somewhere? And not in Go. I don't want to see that anymore. We should be seeing it here, damn it. Number and then a string. And so we're saying reject, and then there's a reason. So what is the problem? Jesus. Was it doing this when we ran it synchronously? Is it because this is not asynchronous? Let's look at I think does calling bytes clear it out? Why is B getting something different every time? This should be the same. The fuck? Is the error consistent? Whoa. Okay. Test error. Oops. Go string. This is the same as... I think calling... calling it async screws up strings. So if we go back to a synchronous version of this, I think it worked more consistently. Error, hello world. Error, hello world. Bytes all look good. Okay, so we learned something. Ghost strings get fucked up when you call async FFI functions. There's some kind of synchronization thing, and this is concerning because I wonder if we had this problem with byte arrays. Do some monsters. This is more what I'd rather my attitude to be in this. It's like a friendly puzzler, as opposed to like the anxiety of mysterious behavior in your code. So we could say things that take strings, because these are not blocking this API. Like, well, connect might block. Dial blocks. So we're passing a struct. How is this? We could, let's try it as like a buffer. Instead of trying to do this, maybe the byte array buffer will act more consistent. So this is test array, test error. And so we're saying let's pass it in like a C string. And we get it like this. Test error, now you take a byte array and the length. And let's do that synchronously just so that we kind of like this. Except for like buffer. Oh, come on. Buffer from fuck. Hello world. Okay, yeah, that acts pretty consistent. So let's see if this works better asynchronously. It does. All right. So if you're doing async FFI calls with Go, don't try and do Go strings. Somebody published that on a wiki. let me clean this up, make sure we're not. Stop printing shit. Buffer, air buff. Air buff bytes. I suppose we can make a helper for this. We'll come back to it. It doesn't happen very often. Great. Yes, exactly. That is what is supposed to happen. Oh, so we're learning. We're learning so much. All right, so these guys taking a ghost string, we need to get them to take some byte arrays. And convert these. Dial TCP, listen, dial. Those are the only ones. And then we want to say buffer and buffer length. I think just the music has turned this around. I mean, sometimes, problem is I've been bitten by Visual Studio's code shortcuts. And so I don't trust them. I really don't trust this editor. Why do I even use it? Okay. I don't even know how these were working before, but right? Maybe it'll get better. All right, let's try demo. Make sure this works consistently. Whoa. Whoa. Unhandled promise. Rejection warning. For some reason, we're not getting the error. What? It's possible the connection disappeared? Who calls this? This guy. And one packet is called in the loop. And the loop is called when we set up a session. I guess it's because I did not check. Well, we can safeguard this by just, God, how should this work? New session. I mean, I guess we can just say if connection is nil, then return nil. Wait a minute. Why is this code even being run? Oh, no, it makes sense. Never mind. Okay, so it is kind of a problem with the demo because I'm like, I don't actually check to see that this fails. So it shouldn't get that far. Right, so we get the exception. Though, why is this happening now? And why aren't we seeing an error? Now we need to turn on error stuff again. Store error. Hopefully we see this. Oh, now it doesn't want to do it. There we go. Still no error though. I think, okay, so I guess it doesn't make sense because it's getting an error ID. Let's look at our dial. Oh. Yeah, I thought I fixed this. Store error. I actually did the other night, but I didn't save it. connection refused. So that actually makes sense. It's like, oh, it didn't, right? It was dialing before it got to waiting. I mean, it did there too, but I guess it just happened to do it in time. All right, well, right, because I'm actually doing these at the same time, which is dumb. What I should do is do this first. Oh. It's an await. Kind of like Go, calling Go routines. All right, in theory, we shouldn't have this problem again. Yeah. Stable as fuck. All right, what next? No. Well, I'm tempted, but I believe it. I'm pretty sure it'll be fine. Oh, it's a wow. See? It passes the Andy test. Okay, well now that this lower level stuff is working better, I'm wondering if the higher level libraries are gonna work better now. I think the one thing, let me check to see. I should switch to incrementer IDs for the objects. That hasn't complained yet. was something else I changed. Okay. Okay, there are a couple of little things. But I think in theory, if I fix those, it might actually work. Okay, first thing. Did we want to do this call? Yeah, I guess so. Resolve. This is not quite right. We want to set that here to just like call this I was worried about this, but that actually is fine when you use the lambda expression, so we can say that, and that's fine. Okay, this nonsense. It. QRPC node. Our demo doing? Let's not do this. Let's set up this listener first. Oh no, this is actually in order, so that's fine. Echoing, listen, blah, 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 serving. For some reason I turned serve off, but we can test with the client. Here we go. I guess I do want to serve. Why was I thinking I wouldn't want to do that? Right, and so then let's try it with a client out here. QC I think works. 4242, yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot to update this. libmux. There. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Oh. Okay, this is where it was. I saw this problem the other night. It says it echoed, but I don't get a response here. And then, but it still works then. But at least I can kind of rely on this being probably my higher level code. Oops. It doesn't work very often. Yeah, it's not working at all. It works like 2 times, and then it's not sure. Listener accept. Use of a closed network. Well, that's weird. Well, it's behaving a little bit better. It was so bad the other day. Let's try it connecting to itself. Echoing, undefined. Okay, that didn't work. It's interesting that it took a little while for that to pop up. I wonder if the sleeps are causing some kind of cumulative. Why did that take so long for it to bubble up? We're very close, though. Very close. Let's see. An hour and a half? I am hungry. And we did accomplish something. Well, I feel like we should at least be able to get that response because it's serving it. So something is up with the client code here. We wait for it to decode. And is returning undefined. Decode should block until something is written. Decoder. All right, let's see what we're getting on these buffers. Don't know which buffer this is. It's either the client or the server. Let's see. Let's see, that's the call. 63686F. Let's see, decoder on data. Just to make sure. Yeah. Problem is, read should. There's a possibility that you could return 0 bytes. I just don't think that that's likely. we're getting, it's saying undefined as an object that we're getting out. Decoded. Oh, that's interesting. Because this is the you know, call request. This is getting the arguments on the server side. This is the call. This is the arguments. And then on the client side, this is the response. And this is the arguments. But some reason between here, it decides to return undefined. These objects are getting pushed into this channel. And what is 80? A new line, I bet, right? Or a space. P, no, hex 80. Is that like a null? If it's not in ASCII, that's weird. 80 hex 50. Decoded. I mean, I shouldn't assume causation here, but no, decimal to hex? No, I want the other way around. God damn it. $128. What is the what is so it's like an extended character. There's probably nothing special. It's not like a new line or space or null. I should make sure that this is what's being returned here. Interesting. That's not what's being returned. It is something somewhere else. Could it be this? Interesting. That would explain why we would never see return value. So what's returning an error? What's causing an error? Catch. Okay, so it catches it here. It's probably not the close, right? Right, so it's definitely the call that we're getting Let's stop logging the buffers because that's kind of misleading. I guess we kind of learned that throwing a string does not always give us what we want, so maybe error. Okay. Oh, but I have to make this. Error is not callable. Come on. In the browser it is. Catch undefined. So we're still getting some kind of exception, and it's not in here. Somewhere in here. Oh, maybe we should make that an error too. Even though that couldn't be it. Let's stop printing so much so we can kind of see. Let's try and catch exceptions in here. This should give us something. It just decided not to work. What did I change? Catching exceptions here. Just like throwing it again. This isn't the change though. What? Debug catch. Okay. Probably because we don't want to throw, we want to return promise reject. Is it because it's an error? Does it need to be a string? Is that why it's confused? Okay, okay. And what the fuck is this? Okay, so errors are, what do they have, messages? Message. I'm just not used to JavaScript shit. Okay. Wait on me. Undefined. Okay. Well. Let's split this down and see if it's on the encoding side. Oops. Debug catch call undefined, so it's not on the encoding side. Could have guessed. Is it here? Is it on decoding the response? No. Is it throwing that error, which is probably not what it should be? No, though I will convert this. Let me guess. It's this. So, codec decode returned. Not just returned. It's fair. Oh, but wait. That should be debug catch. Why is it now going to unexpected error? Isn't there like a node error trace? That's not helpful. Oh, because it's catching. Okay, so it tried to do this, but then it's like, oh, I don't know. So then I'd go in here. Okay, so that was helpful. I guess I'll do that for now. So yeah. It's our codec decode, and codec decode is just listing on that channel. So it's probably this library that's returning, throwing an exception, but what I don't understand is why. The only interaction we have with it is pushing to it, in which and you had to make this library so damn complicated. Closed channels always return undefined immediately. So it was closed. Why was it closed? Send the value into the channel, return a promise that resolves when the value has been shifted or placed in the buffer. Which I'm going to push to a closed channel. Which I'm going to push undefined because it's reserved value. Cancel before completion by calling cancel. only interacting with this in those two places. Let's open this up and then say, shit. Wouldn't I get an exception if I got one of those? Maybe not. Maybe I will now. I could not use the channel if that's actually causing a problem here. I'm sure I could find a way to do it with an array or an events or something. Callbacks and a buffer. I think we can do this without a channel. First in, first out, so basically the same thing as a channel. So push and unshift. Unshift. Shift. Shift takes it off. Push, okay. Alright, so when we get an object, first we check to see if this object waiter's length is greater than 0. If so, then shift it off, and then we're going to call it because it's just going to be callbacks. Otherwise, we will push it onto this object buffer. Push. No async. Object waiters. And shift does take it off, right? Removes the first element. Okay. So then we do this. Return a new promise. Resolve, reject. In which we first check if object buffer length is greater than 0. Then resolve this object buffer shift. Otherwise, we're going to object waiters push a callback object. Oh, actually, we could just push resolve on there. Well, that's cool. Push resolve. Yep. That should do it. I don't think we need this now. Fuck. It's still happening. Debug catch. I thought for sure that it was this that we're getting that undefined. Because debug catch and call has client call right here, right? It's a decode error. Is it not a decode error? I thought I went through the process and I was like, oh, that's where it's coming from. Okay. Is it this? What am I missing? I do have to go through this process again. Look. Okay, what the fuck? Debug catch, undefined. Debug catch. Client call. This is client call. We're catching everything in there. I guess unless this. Alright, what's the fucking value then? Undefined? It's not null, it's undefucking JavaScript. Undefined. Motherfucker. Motherfucker. This was all just some JavaScript fucking shit. I can't believe this. Let's get rid of it. We had some fucking. Well, at least I dropped a dependency. That is good. This is expected. Hello world. So now why isn't it session should be closed? I guess because our listener is not closed, so maybe we want to close the listener. And that'll do it. Oh. Use of a closed listener accept. I wish it was an EOF. Going listener accept. TCP. Okay. Okay. It's not a listener. Check if the listener is closed. First of all, the most common connection state. Keep track of the state anyway. There should be some way to stop. That's trying to do this. Since there's no server close, we have to close the listener with search. Reading this on accept though. We don't have a real accept though. We are using our this implementation. Accept. Oh, but we're pretty much use closed network connection. What the fuck is this? Happens very frequently. It's not an op error, but it's also use of a closed network connection. I mean, I want to normalize all these to EOF. Seems like a common. I want to know for accept. Let's look at good old HTTP server. Something's gotta accept some shit. Accept. Get Chan done. Error server closed. Accept error. Retrying. It actually doesn't even care. It's just like, hey, error server closed. I guess we could do that. Wrap close and then I mean, I can see why they would do, let's just do it this way. But with a buffer, right? But we don't want to do this. Well, we could do this. We could do nil and then EOF. It's kind of... What is the problem here? Yeah, I meant to do this. Do I want to return EOF? Because this would bubble up and then listen. Here. Listen. Yeah, if we EOF, then return 0, and that should be fine. So we can do that. What? Max TCP. Just Max listener, WebSocket listener. Okay. This will need the same treatment, but we'll come back to that. Okay, that's strange though, because it should have. Our demo closes all this shit, so it should be like. Oh, now what? What the fuck was it stuck on? What loops are still running? Oh well, that's a little bit easier to figure out. But, at least this is working. This is progress. Progress. All right, I guess we can do a little recap. Oh, that's totally wrong. Okay, so over the weekend and on Friday, I'd been working on, instead of porting QMux to JavaScript and TypeScript, because so many things can go wrong. I'm using TypeScript, I'm using async await all over the place. I'm not as familiar with using Node. I thought maybe the API is simple enough that we could just expose it over FFI, which is foreign function interface. It's basically a new, pretty standard way to call C APIs from basically any kind of runtime. And so in that way, we could use the Go implementation of the muxing layer or the transport layer of our RPC, which I threw into a libmux directory. So basically everything that was in qRPC transport is now under libmux, which is a Go package that has all the different kind of backends that all implement this muxing API. And then we wrote a wrapper around that exposes it to CGo, so you can see all these exports. And it's hard to see here. It's actually easier to see when you look at consuming this, but this is what the API looks like. And it's mostly working with int32s because it's not really a good idea to pass object pointers around as much from Go objects. And we just want a reference to them anyway. So all of these functions most of them return a reference that we then track in our libmux thing here. We have a ref manager that manages two different things. It manages errors and values. So values are the objects that you instantiate and that are returned that we want to keep around while you're referencing them. It's actually not that different than the object manager for RPC that we would need to make. And then separately we store errors. And so the way the API works is because you can't return multiple values as easily unless you want to do a struct, but then it's a little bit less portable, common, easy, whatever. So all these return in int32, and if it's a positive value, then it's a reference to an object. If it's a negative value, it is an error. However, you don't know what that error is, and instead of having strict error codes, instead we have an error lookup that will then write to a string that you pass it what the error message is. So if you ever get an error, you have to look up the error to dereference that error on the go side, but then you get a nice error message. And other than that, it's just passing byte arrays. So we pass references, basically buffers, for read and write. And then also for specifying addresses, we were originally doing strings. I found out that you can't do async FFI things and pass Go string structs, but byte arrays work. So that all works. It took me a while to kind of get everything, everything using explicit types. When we were returning negative values, it was returning positive ones, and I didn't realize. And it's like there's so many points where things could go wrong because it's going from node to C to Go to C to node. But this morning, I finally got a pretty good handle on that with this little FFI prototype, which is really simple, just kind of working with the types that we have here, taking an ID and taking a string. This is where I learned, well, strings work, but they don't work when it's async, because the node FFI library lets you call things synchronously or asynchronously. And if you call it asynchronously, then you get a callback and all this stuff. But apparently, Go strings are not interpreted on the other end consistently, and that was causing all kinds of problems. So once we kind of figure that out in this independent sort of like standalone throwaway prototype, which I will delete actually because we learned everything we need from that, I went back to our libmux and fixed all this stuff up to use explicit values and changed the API to take array buffers instead of strings, and kind of fixed a bunch of stuff up that I learned. We also have a problem. One of the last things that I fixed was except when we close the listener, then except is going to return use of a closed connection. And so I did something to normalize that into an EOF, because kind of all of these things will return 0 on EOF, because on the JavaScript side, we say, oh, if it's 0, then it's probably EOF. That's not really something that we want to raise an error for, but it also means that we're not returning a value. So basically, we use that to basically, kill whatever the read loop is and stuff like that. And so I think that should work. But anyway, we need to make that use of a closed network connection kind of turn it into an EOF, because that's kind of what it meant. So yeah, and then so libmux works, and then I had some fixes in QRPC, mostly dealing with figuring out, and all this is very hard to debug because there's so many things, and we're kind of, this is a kind of a complicated setup here, even though ultimately the API is very simple, but a lot of points of where things could go wrong. And I was using an external library, and throwing exceptions with async await is very weird. But finally, kind of everything kind of came together, and now it's mostly working. It's not throwing errors. It's not running consistently, but it's not throwing errors. And so we have some other things to figure out, like, even though it's all done, we stop the listener and we close the connections, it's still not exiting for some reason. So I think there's some loop somewhere that we need to close, and otherwise it's coming together, which is really cool. So most of this was done off stream, and so that's why this was kind of a long update or recap. But we're getting there. I think this using FFI will work out. It took a while to kind of understand some of the details of using it. All right. I'm going to be back a little later doing game stuff. I've been doing some alpha playtesting, and God, there are some big bugs, so I got to take care of those today on the game. So see you later.